Take control of the numbers and supercharge your small business with Xero. That's Xero. With our easy-to-use accounting software with automation and reporting features, you'll spend less time on manual tasks and more time understanding how your business is doing. 87% of surveyed U.S. customers agree Xero helps improve financial visibility. Search Xero with an X or visit xero.com/ACAST to start your 30-day free trial. Conditions apply.
I'm done with subscriptions. Streaming, fitness, razors, vitamins. I've got subscriptions for everything in my life. They lock you in, and half the time, I can't figure out how to unsubscribe. That's why I'm so excited about the new Blue Apron. Now you can get delicious meals delivered with no subscription needed, including new pre-made options. Keep the flavor, ditch the subscription. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Hello and welcome to mini episode number 492 of Real Life Ghost Stories, and I have 3 spooky stories for you today, and the last story comes from the 30th of October 2025. So as you can see, we've again jumped forward a bit in time, but not to worry, because 15 days of festive fear is coming up. So if you've sent in your story between the last mini episode and the 30th of October and you're thinking, hang on a second, where's my story? It will be in 15 days of festive fear. I also wanted to say, just as a point to note when you're sending in stories, I don't read true crime on the podcast. So it has to be paranormal in some way. I appreciate the stories that I get sent in and I enjoy reading them a lot. But if it's true crime and not paranormal, I'm not going to be reading it. So we've got 3 stories today, and story number 1 comes from Claire. It isn't unusual for my 6-year-old son to come and climb into bed with me in the morning for a snuggle before it's time to get up. When he came in to see me this morning, he was wide awake and chatty. He suddenly said, "Oh wow, Mummy, a man just jumped on the bed here," tapping near his knees. He was all dark and I couldn't see his eyes. He was only as tall as Daisy. That's my 9-year-old daughter. Cue me being freaked the hell out. He didn't seem scared at all. I asked him if he could still see him and he said, "No, he's gone now." This isn't the first thing that's happened in our bedroom. One time we had brought a toy down from the attic, a sit-in child's car with a steering wheel, lights and sound. At 3 a.m. on the dot, after being in storage for about 3 years, it suddenly sprang into action, singing its little ditty, driving in my big blue car, beep, 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 and then stopped. It only happened once, and we soon took it to the charity shop. I do wonder whether the spirit of a child might have been tinkering with it while we slept. Aside from being woken up, it didn't feel menacing at all.
"There's someone in the corner," she quietly said. "He follows me at night and whispers by my bed." She grins so wide it chills my skin. There's nothing worse than a creepy kid.
Massive thank you as always to Christian for that creepy kid jingle. I thought it's been a while since we've whipped out a creepy kid jingle. Let's go for it. Oh, and look, it's such a cute thing for your little 6-year-old son to climb into bed in the morning for a cuddle before it's time to get up. What a lovely thing. But a man just jumped on the bed and he was all dark. I couldn't see his eyes. But because of the fact that he said that this man was only as tall as his big sister, I wonder if it was just the spirit of a child, because that's pretty scary. And then to be driving around in that little sit-in child's car seat, And any child's toy that goes off in the middle of the night is absolutely terrifying. I don't care what the context is. I don't care if it's like, oh, the batteries are running out or whatever. I don't care. It's still terrifying. And our second story today comes from Anonymous. I wasn't going to send this story in because I didn't think it was supernatural. Even now, I still don't think of it that way. Just weird. What finally made me send this email was a pretty funny set of circumstances. In October this year, I had the day off work while getting ready for a family trip to Melbourne. That morning, I was out walking my dog around the gully behind our house and listening to the podcast as usual. Where I live, I can see planes coming in from the south or southwest, looping around to land at our local airport. Lately, I've started seeing planes heading north after takeoff because they added a new international route to the Gold Coast. I'm absolutely terrified of flying, even though I've been on more flights than I can count. I especially dread takeoff. So when I heard a plane overhead that morning, I looked up to watch. Seeing planes in the sky actually helps me calm down because it reminds me that flying is normal and crashes are incredibly rare. Right at that moment, the episode I was listening to, the third in your 31 Days of Terror series, started playing Louise's story about the non-existent plane. I laughed at the coincidence. But then as her story went on, I realised it was eerily similar to something that happened to me a few years ago. It was early one morning, and I was sitting on our deck when I heard the loudest engine noise I'd ever heard. I could not figure out exactly what direction it was coming from other than somewhere behind our property. Like I mentioned before, our backyard backs onto a beautiful gully with lots of tall trees. The noise was getting louder and louder, and I desperately wanted to know the source. Suddenly I saw a plane coming from the north. Other than when I've been near an airport, I've never seen a plane fly that low. I panicked, not for myself, but because I thought the plane was going to crash. There are some parks and fields nearby, so I assumed that was where the pilot was hoping to land. I could see it was an Air New Zealand plane, with black and white colouring and even the windows. I still picture it flying just above the trees. I tried to follow it across my property, but our shed and trees blocked my view. The noise of the engine quickly stopped. I listened to see if it was going to crash, but I heard nothing and felt relieved. As soon as it appeared, it was gone. I ran inside and asked my husband if he had heard it. He had been fast asleep and did not hear a thing. I went online to see if there was any breaking news or local posts on Reddit, but there was nothing. I did not feel comfortable posting because I did not want to look crazy. I was really worked up and couldn't stop thinking about it. Where did the plane go? Planes typically do not come in from the north to land. And if it was just making its way to the airport, why was it flying so close to the ground? It would have had to cross the city, and surely other people would have seen it. It still bothers me to this day. There has to be a reasonable explanation. Occam's razor suggests I misremembered how close it was to the ground. But I cannot fully accept that because I described it to my husband immediately after it happened. Funnily enough, my friend is the financial manager at the airport, so I messaged her. She had no idea what I was talking about. I try not to think about this too much because I cannot solve it on my own. I know there are other New Zealanders who listen to this podcast. I live in Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. Does anyone have an explanation or know anything about this? Okay, New Zealanders who are listening, please help us solve this mystery. So I also know that that is not how you say Kirikiriroa, because New Zealanders have this beautiful way of pronouncing their R's that I just don't have the capacity to do. So I apologise for my terrible pronunciation. I am kind of hoping though that we solve this mystery, right? So when I was at home a couple of weeks ago, there was all these reports of a massive UFO sighting over Ireland, right? And people had seen this UFO all over Ireland. My dad and I were in his van listening to this radio report about this. Like genuinely, people had seen it all over the place. It was crazy. They had made videos. People were messaging me about it, being like, oh my God, did you see this story? Does anybody know what it was? And as I was listening to the radio, this guy who was a meteorologist rang in and he was like, I know exactly what this was. And it looked crazy, looked completely like a UFO. Totally understand why people thought that it was. but it was a rocket launch, a specific rocket that has a part of it that comes back down to Earth. So that's what it was. And I was like, oh my God, the mystery is solved. So I was able to write back to people and go, hey, it is not a UFO. It is actually a very terrestrial rocket launch. So maybe we'll be able to do the same here. I do think it is fascinating that we've had these stories of people seeing planes that essentially weren't there. And I think I understand your assertion that Occam's razor suggests that you misremembered it, right? Occam's razor is the idea that the most reasonable explanation, the most simple explanation is probably the explanation. And I do agree with you that memories are completely fallible. I was speaking about this on Patreon recently, these stories of people who swore up and down they had seen a certain thing only to realise that what they had seen was, something from a film or, something from a mockumentary or whatever. And we are fallible as humans. However, the shock that you obviously experienced because you saw this plane, you were like, oh my God, it's so low to the ground. It's flying just above the trees. Like it's obviously going to crash. And then you ran inside to ask your husband if he had heard it. Like that to me doesn't scream misremembering something. Because if you misremembered, is it likely that in that moment, at that time, you would have ran in to see if your husband had heard or experienced the same thing? It's interesting that this also seems to happen, with other vehicles. Like it's not just airplanes, like ships, trains, cars, etc. We obviously had Louise's story a little while ago in Scotland where she witnessed a plane crashing and was like, oh my God, I'm going to turn on the news and I'm going to hear all about this plane crash. We've had multiple incidences where people have seen World War II fighter planes, for example. So again, it's almost like a residual energy, I think, or just some sort of glimpse into the past. I mean, that's about as much of a solution as I can come up with, to be honest. And also, Anonymous, not a great thing to see when you've already got a fear of flying. I don't envy you that one.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah?
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
I'm done with subscriptions. Streaming, fitness, razors, vitamins. I've got subscriptions for everything in my life. They lock you in, and half the time, I can't figure out how to unsubscribe. That's why I'm so excited about the new Blue Apron. Now you can get delicious meals delivered with no subscription needed, including new pre-made options. Keep the flavor. Ditch the subscription. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Grief doesn't keep a calendar. Anxiety doesn't clock out after 5. Depression doesn't care if it's your busy season. But support can still fit into your life. With Grow, you can find a therapist who meets you where you are. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions. You can search by insurance, provider specialty, treatment methods, and more to find a therapist who works for you. And if it's not the right fit, switching is easy. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Find therapy on your time. Evenings, weekends, and cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/ACAST today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/ACAST. growtherapy.com/ACAST. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
Tired of your car insurance rate going up even with a clean driving record? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/ACAST today.
And our final story today comes from Frankie. I decided to share one of my Manny's stories. It's one of my top 3 about visitations. Several seem unbelievable, but I will start with some soft ones and see how that feels to share. I'm a private nurse and was recently hired to care for an elderly woman who had been placed on hospice. While I was hired to care for her, her husband, who had advanced dementia, passed first. Living alone now, her son would check on her after I left and I would return the next day. Soon after her husband passed, her health declined rapidly, which you may already know is very common, especially with couples who have been together for many years, and they had been together over 65. A few days after her husband passed, I came into work. I asked her how she slept, worried that she wasn't sleeping well. She quickly replied, "There was a man here last night. He was standing in my doorway watching me sleep. The whole light was on. I couldn't see who it was, but I could definitely see his shape." I found this interesting because her son had recently installed motion lights in the hallway, which means, of course, they would only come on if there was motion. The son came in early that evening to see her before my shift ended. I asked him if he had come last night to check on her during the night. He said no, that he left after dinner. I'm not sure how she would receive my thoughts on things, so I let it go. The next morning when I came in, I asked her how she slept. She said, "The man was here again last night." I asked, "Were you able to see him well enough to get an idea of who it is?" She said no, but he was standing in my closet and he was going through my clothes. I could only see him from the back. I wondered if I was dreaming. The rest of the week passes uneventful, and then the weekend, and I came in Monday morning. As soon as she saw me, she said, "That man was in my closet again last night, and he was holding a suitcase. My suitcase." She paused a long pause and then said, "It was my husband. But it was strange because he looked like the day I met him, when he was only 20 years old, with thick black glasses." I get chills repeating this to you, the same as I got chills the moment she shared this. I asked her if she was frightened and she said no. We had a very sweet and intimate conversation about our loved ones preparing us to join them. We even joked how we hope he picked out the right clothes. When I returned Tuesday morning, her son was there and she had slipped into a coma overnight. They say the hearing is the last to go. And over the next few days I sat by her side reminding her her husband is waiting for her. She passed 3 days later. I was comforted knowing her husband was there with her. Oh, Frankie, no wonder you got goosebumps, because I'd be getting goosebumps as well. That story was absolutely beautiful. And this is the thing. People talk about this all the time. Nurses like yourself talk about this all the time, where they're like, yeah, this is what happens. People come back to collect their loved ones. And I personally, I'm not afraid of death. Death doesn't scare me at all. And I like to think that through this podcast, I feel like, yeah, there probably are people waiting for me on the other side, and that would be nice. Whatever the other side means, I don't know. And it would be nice to see them again and be welcomed into the afterlife by people that I know and love. But for people who maybe are afraid of death, or who have lost loved ones, or who are going to lose loved ones, I hope that these stories are some sort of comfort to you, that the people that we have loved and lost will be waiting for us on the other side in some way, shape or form. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you to Claire, Anonymous and Frankie for sending in your stories. Remember, the last story came from the 30th of October 2025, and 15 days of festive fear is on the way. And if you would like to send in your story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com. And if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or for $2 a month, you can get access to heaps of extra content, as well as every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you next time.
Take control of the numbers and supercharge your small business with Xero. That's Xero. With our easy-to-use accounting software with automation and reporting features, you'll spend less time on manual tasks and more time understanding how your business is doing. 87% of surveyed U.S. customers agree Xero helps improve financial visibility. Search Xero with an X or visit Xero.com/ACAST to start your 30-day free trial. Conditions apply.